What was one of the most, speaking of which, I've been talking to some past presidents who are pre-technology boom. And so this question was really supported the, gosh, I wish I had had that tool then. In looking back you're right in the middle of our technology boom, your presidency. If you look back, is there anything that you would have, just hindsight being 2020, would have done differently, or said, wow, technology has advanced so quickly in this last 2 years since I came out. I wish I had had that tool or that social media item or this, or you pulled these folks together. Is there anything you look back and think, I think we have an improvement opportunity at this point?
I think there's many, right? And that's all part of
There's always,
learning
yeah,
and growing.
right.
I'd say not so much technology,
Mm-hmm.
but again, those soft skills that I talked about.
Yes.
So looking back, I talked about being at Lockheed Martin and being a young project manager, leading proposal activities. I wish that then that I had realized how important stakeholder communication is and
Mm-hmm.
getting to those stakeholder needs. There
Mm-hmm.
were proposals that we lost because we thought that we knew what was best for the customer. And I've learned a lot since then about organizational change management,
Okay.
stakeholder communications, all that soft skill stuff that's so important as a project manager. Because let's face it, you can develop or create the best widget or technology in the world, but if it's not what the customer wants, then you're not going to be successful.
Right. Right. They're gonna tell you to take a hike, right?
Exactly, right.
So in your presidency, taking that hindsight and that learning in your career, how were you able to inform your presidency with that and encourage the board and the team to also increase that communication?
So my advice to the board and to the team is just keep talking to members, keep talking to leaders in the community. Don't stay just focused inward on the chapter, but talk to the leadership community in the Rochester area
Mm-hmm.
and in industry, stay connected to PMI Global, and don't grow stagnant. Just always try to continue to evolve because the world's evolving, as we
Right.
see probably more quickly than some of us want to, especially right
Yes.
now.
I think we're all asking for a day off.
I think so, yes. And I don't know if it's coming.
With that and knowing communication is a huge part of growth, what were some of the things that you put in place to get folks interested in the chapter and to encourage that membership growth while you were president?
So I think it again was around giving them just a variety of options and offerings and using our website, our social media to make sure that through many different channels that members are aware of those different offerings. One of the things that even since I was president that's really taken off that we started during that time was diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know that Lori Gayshak, in her role as president, has embraced it and expanded the DEI arm of the chapter. And the whole concept there was exactly that, around
Mm-hmm.
wanting to attract more members and make sure that we were meeting the needs of not
Right,
just our core group, but the broader group of members.
right. Can you talk a little bit more about, I apologize, I'm looking at some of our questions, just looking through them, about the diversity, equity, and inclusion portion of our chapter? Like define
Sure.
what we're doing
Yeah.
with it. What is that arm?
Yeah. So that started in full transparency based on some very candid feedback from our members after a professional development day that they went to PDD, a couple of members, and they felt that what they saw and what they experienced didn't include them. They didn't feel included. It was very one note in their opinion and
Wow.
focused on one very core demographic of people.
Okay.
And coming in as one of the few women presidents and having a board that at that time had a lot of diversity within our board, I had to agree that it didn't represent all of us, what we were putting out to our members. And we knew we had to do something visible to communicate to everyone that, you know what, we do want to include all of you. And that's when we decided to appoint a director of, at that time, diversity and inclusion. Lori's since expanded and improved to diversity,
Yeah.
equity, and inclusion. But we added a director reporting to the president to make it known that this is important, this is critical. And that presence was there to inform everything that we did within our chapter and make sure that we had that mindset when we were putting out offerings.
That is fantastic, because when I think of project management, it's agnostic of race, religion, sex, creed, you name it, anything. It's just agnostic. And it's one of those career fields where it's approachable to anyone from any demographic with any business or product or result need, because
Absolutely.
that's how high level. And so to be able to ensure we have that inclusion cross-culturally is phenomenal. Thank
It's
you.
critical. It's critical. You're
Oh,
welcome. But
yeah.
it's critical. I mean, the whole board, it was time to evolve, and it's critical. And PMI, although we're a local chapter, we represent a global organization, and we had to make sure that that's something that was well represented.
And the other big thing that you just mentioned and referenced, that for everyone who is learning about project management or just needs to be reminded, is you listened. So
Right.
you
You have to listen.
You had a
You have to
retrospective.
listen to your customers.
Yes.
And at the chapter, the members are the customers.
Yeah, and you turned around and you implemented. So it's a retrospective that worked. It was, even whether it was intended or not, it was, a retrospective that worked. And that's incredible.